Hello viewers, in this video and next few videos I will talk about the loops in Java. So there are basically three types of loops in Java. First is the while loop, then is do while loop, and the third one is the for loop. So in this video I will talk about for loop. So there are two types of for loops. One is the traditional old for loop and the other is the new for loop which has been introduced in JDK 5. And that for loop is for each for loop. So what is a loop? Loop is basically a repetition statement like which allows us to execute a programming statement over and again. So what you are seeing in front of you is a for loop, a traditional for loop, not for each loop, but a traditional for loop. So a traditional for loop starts with a for keyword. This is a reserved keyword for Java and we cannot use it for any other purpose. And then this parenthesis starts the header of for loop, and the header of for loop has three expressions, three statements which are separated by semicolon. So the first statement is the initialization statement. Why it is called initialization statement? Because it initializes the loop variable and it is executed exactly once. The second statement is a condition. It is a Boolean condition which is evaluated, and if it is true, only then the control goes into the body of the for loop and execute these statements. So third statement is the increment or decrement statement. Why it is called increment or decrement statement? Because it increments or decrements the loop variable. So we will see what is the sequence which this for loop exactly follows. And if you don't understand the for loop from this video, just watch this video again, because this video will have all the concepts required for understanding and implementing the for loop. So this is the header of for loop, and this curly bracket starts the body and this curly bracket ends the body of for loop. So this is the for keyword and this is the first statement which initializes the loop variable. In this case, the loop variable is I. It is also called the loop counter, and it is not necessary to declare and initialize this loop counter inside the header of for loop. So you can declare this loop counter outside the for loop and you can initialize it here in the header of for loop. So this is the first statement. The second statement is a Boolean condition which checks the value of the loop counter, and if this condition becomes true, only then the control goes into the body of the for loop and executes any number of statements which are in the body of the for loop. The third portion here increments or decrements the loop counter. So here I am just incrementing it by 1, and you can decrement it by 1 or you can increment or decrement it by any other value as well. Here I will be showing the current value of the loop counter, and here I will be showing the output of this statement which is in the body of for loop. So what this for loop is doing is it is initializing or giving an initial value of 1 to the loop counter I, and then it will run up till that point I is less than or equal to 5, and it will increment I by 1 in each iteration. So let us start this animation. So this is the first statement which will execute in the header of the for loop, and this statement will never be executed again, as you will see in this animation. So once this statement is executed, so what happens is that I is assigned the value of 1. So after this statement is executed, I has a value of 1. So after this statement, the control goes to the next statement in the header of for loop and checks if this condition is true, So the current value of I is 1. So 1 is less than 5. The condition is true. Now the control will move to the body. Just note here that this statement was skipped by the Java, and after checking the condition, the control moved to the body of the for loop. Once this statement is executed, it will print out the current value of loop counter I here. You see, I has a value of 1. I has a value of 1 and it outputs the value of 1, and the control moves to the end bracket of for loop body. So once the control encounters the end bracket, it moves back. But see now that where it will go back. Now the control has moved back to the increment statement. So if you understand this sequence, so you will never be tricked by the for loop. It will be very easy for you to understand the for loop if you understand this sequence. So this statement will increment the value of I, the loop counter, by 1. So once this statement is executed, the value of I will be 2. Now see that, as I said, the control will never go back to this statement. So the next statement after this will be this condition. So currently 2 is less than 5. So this condition is true. Once this condition is true, all the statements in the body of for loop will be executed. So in this case, we have only one statement. So this will output the current value of I here, which is 2. Let's see. Again, the control encounters the end bracket, and now it will again go back to the increment decrement statement. This will be executed. It will increment the value of the loop counter by 1 again, and after this is executed, the value of I will become 3. Then the condition will be checked. 3 is less than 5, true. The control will go back to the body, print the current value of loop counter, which is 3, and then it will move again to the increment decrement statement, increment the value of I again by 1. After this statement is executed, so the value of I will be 4. The condition will be checked. 4 is less than 5, correct. Control will go and execute the statements in the body of the loop. The current value of I will be printed, which is 4 again, and the control sees the end of for loop. Again, it goes to the increment decrement statement. Once it is executed, the value of I is updated to 5. The condition is checked. 5 is not less than 5, but 5 is equal to 5 because of this operator, less than or equal to. So 5 is equal to 5. The condition is true. The control will go and execute the statements in the body of for loop, and the current value of I will be printed. And again, now after the control sees the end of the for loop body, it again it will return to the increment decrement statement. Now here you need to understand, now the increment decrement statement, like in this case, the increment statement will increment the value of I to 6. So now after this, the condition will be evaluated. 6 is neither less than 5 nor it is equal to 5. So the condition is false. After this, once the condition is false, the control will directly jump to the first statement after the body of the for loop, which in this case is this statement, and it is just printing out a message that I am out of the loop. Just see, the control ignored the body because the condition was false, and it just moved to this to the very first statement after the body of for loop, and once this statement is executed, it printed out this message. So let us go and implement the same loop in Bluej. I will be using Bluej because it is very good for the starters. Anyone who is starting to learn the Java, it is good for them. Otherwise, you can use the Eclipse, NetBeans, and many other editors which are available for Java. So here I'll give the name of the class as for loop, and Bluej will create this class for me. This is all unnecessary for me for the timing. I just want to show public static void main string starting and ending one. Now I just want to implement that for loop for int I assigned 0, I is less than or equal to 5, I plus plus start and end bracket of for loop, and just out or print line I. So once this for loop will end, we will say print line out of loop, and we compile this program, close this and run this. So just see, I initialized it from 0. So first value printed was 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and after the condition was false, the control jumped to the very first statement after the body of the for loop. So let us initialize it from 1 so that. So one more thing I told you was that it is not mandatory, it is not essential to declare and initialize the loop counter here. So you can initialize, if you want to use the loop counter anywhere outside the body of for loop, then you need to declare it here. For example, if I wanted to print the value of I here, so this statement is out of the body of for loop. So since I declared and initialized the loop counter inside the in the header of for loop, so this variable will not be recognized by the Java. So its scope is just the body of for loop. So this loop counter which is declared and initialized in the header of for loop can only be used within the body of for loop. So if I want to use this loop counter outside the body of for loop, what I have to do is I have to declare. Declare means I have to give the data type, the variable name and semicolon, and initialize it. I have to declare it outside the body of outside the header of for loop, and I have to initialize it in the header of the for loop. So now that error has gone, and let's see what is the value of the I after this ends. So what we perceive is that the value of I should be 6, because once I will become 6, this condition will be false and the control will jump to this statement, and then this statement will be executed, and here the value of I will be 6. Just see, it has printed out. Let's clear this one and rerun it. Like so, it printed out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It went out of the loop, out of for loop, and then in the next statement we printed out the current value of I, which was 6. So with this, viewer, I end this video, and in the coming videos I will be discussing the different variations of the traditional for loop, and I will be discussing the for each loop, which is a new loop, and the while loop and the do while loops. So stay with me till that time. Take care. Bye bye.